last night, CNN had a town hall featuring Nikki Haley. Erin Burnett of CNN was one hosting this. It took place in Iowa, and Erin asked her about a recent controversial comments regarding the Civil War, lack of bringing up slavery, stuff along those lines. And so, yeah, it was quite interesting. So roll the first one.
This, of course, is referring back to New Hampshire. You were asked to explain the cause of the Civil War. You obviously did not mention slavery. And afterwards, you came up, you said that was a mistake. In fact, you said it should have been the first thing that you said. So you did come out and say that. Chris Christie, though, came out and said that you gave that answer not because you're, in his words, dumb or racist, but because you're, quote, unwilling to offend anyone by telling the truth. What do you say to that?
No one's ever said that I am unwilling to offend. I offend plenty of people because I call people out when they do something wrong. What I will tell you is Chris Christie is from New Jersey. I should have said slavery right off the bat. But if you grow up in South Carolina, literally in second and third grade, you learn about slavery. You grow up and you have, I had black friends growing up. It is a very talked about thing. We have a big history in South Carolina when it comes to, slavery, when it comes to all the things that happened with the Civil War, all of that. I was thinking past slavery and talking about the lesson that we would learn going forward. I shouldn't have done that. I should have said slavery, but in my mind, that's a given that everybody associates the Civil War with slavery.
I was thinking past slavery. Girl, go on that bullshit. All right, now then the Confederate flag came up and a bigger shovel was needed for the manure about to come out of her mouth.
And to bring a divided state together and avoid riots and protests, the way we did that was I knew half of South Carolinians saw the Confederate flag as heritage and tradition. The other half of South Carolinians saw it as slavery and hate. My job wasn't to judge either side. My job was to get them to see the best of themselves and go forward. And South Carolinians showed what true strength and grace looked like because we didn't have protests, we had vigils. We didn't have riots, we had prayer. And South Carolina led the way, but that is the way we have to work on issues that try and divide us, is don't go and pick who's right and who's wrong and who's good and who's bad. That's what leaders are doing now, and it's caused us to be completely in political disarray. A leader doesn't decide who's right. When you serve the people, you serve everybody. And your job is to give them all the information you have and let them know where you want to go going forward.
Now, y'all, this is the same Nikki Haley whose mama and daddy couldn't get a job in South Carolina, whose daddy was hired at a HBCU, whose mama, and Michael Harrod has broken this thing down on Twitter multiple times, whose mama couldn't get nobody to buy the dresses she made. And it was black women who bought her mama's dresses. But the same Nikki Haley, who's previously said that they couldn't have black people over at their house because the landlord said, no, you can't do that. The same Nikki Haley who went to one of those white private academies in South Carolina, the ones created during Jim Crow, that was 95% white. Yeah, she didn't go to the public school. She went to that private academy. And listening to that nonsense, and I love it. I had black friends. They just couldn't come to the house. Is that then you hear the Confederate flag one. First of all, real leaders call folk out. What they're supposed to do. Do y'all remember the clip of the white woman, the old white woman at the John McCain town hall who said that Obama wasn't a Christian and he was a Muslim? And no, ma'am. Took the microphone out of her hand and said she was wrong. That ain't these Republicans. Nikki Haley has kissed the behind of white supremacists for decades. Nikki Haley doesn't want to be honest about the Confederate flag. She doesn't want to call it for what it is because she doesn't want to offend those white conservative Republicans and the white racists who actually vote Republican. That's all this was. And that's why she is grossly unfit for the Oval Office. Because if that's how you're going to weasel out of answers, oh no, I was thinking beyond slavery. Half of the question was about the Civil War. Oh no, I was thinking beyond. I was thinking, how do we go beyond? The question was about the Civil War. How are you going to talk about how we go beyond? This right here, Kelly, are the games being played because Republicans appeal to white nationalists, white supremacists, and and I love it when these same Republicans, Kelly, keep talking about Democratic Party is the party of the KKK. Democratic Party is the party of Jim Crow. Facts, Southern Democrats. But who is the party that defends Confederate monuments today? Republicans. Who is the party that supports Confederate days like, Jefferson Davis's birthday, Robert E. Lee? It's Republicans. Those are simple facts. Can't hear you, Kelly. There you go. Now we got you.
What? I'm sorry?
Now we got you. Go ahead.
Oh, I said Miss Nimrata understands those facts, and she's woefully and willfully ignorant of those facts because she needs votes from the very people who would have denied her parents entry into this country. The hypocrisy of it all is astounding, but it still never ceases to amaze me how pervasive and addicting whiteness is. And I can't think of a better example of someone who is more addicted to it than Miss Nimrata Haley, who goes by Nikki Haley because white people would never vote for somebody named Nimrata. And I'll leave it at that.
Michael.
Roland, this was a bunch of BS that Nikki Haley spewed. But let me just say this succinctly. Nikki Haley knows better. First of all, South Carolina, where Nikki Haley was governor of, was the first state to secede from the Union December 20th, 1860, 6 weeks after Abraham Lincoln became president-elect. South Carolina thought that Lincoln was going to free the slaves. South Carolina is where the Civil War began, April 12, 1861, with the attack on Fort Sumter. Nikki Haley knows this history. She's afraid to say it because she knows she's going to lose the white supremacist votes. And if you read the statements of secession from South Carolina, December 20th, 1860, they tell you how essential the products that slaves made were crucial to their wealth, crucial to their way of life. And they talked about how they feared encroachment from the North and the North opposition to westward expansion of slavery. So any of these Republicans that want to talk about the Democrat, it wasn't the Democratic Party, but Democrats started the KKK, we can have that discussion, but you also have to talk about the compromise of 1877, where Republicans conspired with Democrats to end Reconstruction. And Rutherford B. Hayes, the Republican candidate, when he became president, he removed the Union troops out of the South. So we have to talk about that. And we have to talk about the Lily White movement in 1928, which was the movement by Republicans to push African Americans out of the Republican Party, which is why we ended up in the Democratic Party. So we can have a history lesson right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered if you want to have that conversation.
She is a fraud, Matt Manning, and all she wants to do is give cover to these white racists and, other people on both sides, and so it's not my job to judge.
Well, you were right, and Chris Christie was right, by evidence by both of those clips. I mean, it's obvious that she's afraid to speak the truth here because she doesn't want to lose, as Kelly mentioned, she doesn't want to lose social capital, and as Michael mentioned, turn people off. But the thing that's ridiculous to me about this is, honestly, this kind of harkens back to the same issue with Claudine Gay and Liz McGill with their answers in front of Congress. This is an easy answer. The Civil War was fought over slavery. It infuriates me when people try to make it about states' rights and anything else other than states' rights for white people to own our people. That's it. That's the only question. She knows that. And I think it's intellectually dishonest not to answer that. And then the other thing about the Confederate flag and, try to find the good in each other and move forward. Here's the thing that is just intellectually dishonest about anybody who is looking at it like tradition. These are the same people who are jingoists. I mean, as much as they crow America over everyone else, and if you don't, stand and salute the flag at an NFL game, you're not a true American. Well, how can you then logically support the Confederacy in any means, right? Because that was a secession from the United States. So there's a lot of mental gymnastics that have to happen for this to happen, but it's obvious that she doesn't think that there's any loss in not saying the truth, which is that the Civil War was fought over slavery. And the thing about this is a slap in the face to say, oh, I thought everybody knew it was about slavery. I'm going past slavery, when the truth is it was about slavery. And it should be easy for her to say that unequivocally. But because she's a politician and she's looking for votes and not the truth, this is the BS that we get instead.
Yep, and again, this whole I was thinking past that. I was thinking going forward. What the hell? I'm sorry. What the hell is going forward?
Yes.
She's disingenuous. And let me say this here, and this is most important for black people to understand. The Confederate flag came down in South Carolina because of black blood being spilled. It took 9, let me be clear, it took 9 black people being killed, gunned down by a racist white supremacist by the name of Dylann Roof. Otherwise, Nikki Haley would have done nothing when it came to that flag, and that flag would be still flying in South Carolina. Those are simple, basic facts that she does not want to accept. And so I've heard people say, well, no, Nikki Haley did a remarkable job bringing people together. No, she gets no credit for that flag coming down because it was the blood of black people that brought that flag down. Pure and damn simple.